9 dinner orders went up to room 427 while no one was checked in. 9 kitchen tickets. 9 timestamps. 9 times the in-room phone was answered. The door log shows 0 entries for 9 consecutive days. No guest card used. No MasterCard used. No record of the door opening at all. But 9 trays went up. 9 trays came back empty. On night 9, the charge hit the house account. Employee ID 3847. That is my number. I was not in that building on night 9. My name does not matter right now. What matters is what I did for 23 years. Night audit. Front desk overnight. The shift that starts at 11 p.m. and ends at 7 in the morning. The shift where you see things other people don't, because most people are asleep. I worked 11 of those 23 years at a business hotel in the Midwest. 12 floors. About 240 rooms. Conference center on the 2nd and 3rd floors. Restaurant that closed at 10. Airport shuttle every 2 hours. The kind of place where Monday through Thursday you get pharmaceutical reps, insurance adjusters, and regional sales managers. Weekends it goes quiet. I knew that hotel the way you know your own house in the dark. Every system, every quirk. Which elevator stalled on cold mornings, which ice machine on the 8th floor ran loud after midnight. When something went wrong at 3 a.m., I was the person on duty. Usually just me and one other person at the desk. Sometimes just me. I want you to understand that when I tell you I know what normal looks like in that hotel, I mean it exactly. This was not normal. Carol Fenner checked into room 427 on a Tuesday afternoon in March, 2-night stay. She was registered for a pharmaceutical sales conference running on the 3rd floor. Standard reservation. Standard check-in. She paid with a corporate card, got her 2 key cards, took the elevator up with a rolling suitcase and a laptop bag. I wasn't on shift for her check-in. I came in that Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Everything looked ordinary. 427 had a guest. Guest had a key. Key worked. That was the end of it. Carol Fenner checked out Thursday morning at 9:12 a.m. I was off by then. Day shift handled it. She returned both key cards, which was noted in the log. A clean, unremarkable checkout. Housekeeping cleaned 427 that Thursday afternoon. Stripped the bed, replaced the towels, vacuumed, restocked the minibar. Checked the in-room safe. Empty as expected. Reset to service mode. The door log stamped the last entry at 2:47 p.m. Thursday. That was the last legitimate time anyone opened that door. The room sat empty after that. April is slow in a Midwest business hotel. The conferences thin out. We had a dead week coming. No group blocks on the books. Room 427 had nothing scheduled. I started my shift the following Tuesday night. The hotel was running about 30% occupancy, quiet enough to hear the elevator machinery between calls. Around 1 in the morning, I ran my first minibar reconciliation. This is standard, part of the overnight cycle. You pull a report from the property management system that shows every room with minibar items flagged as consumed. Occupied rooms can carry charges. Vacant rooms should show nothing. Room 427 showed 2 items. 1 bottle of sparkling water. 1 pack of salted almonds. I looked at the room status. Vacant. No current guest. No incoming reservation. I thought about it for 10 seconds. Carol Fenner had checked out less than a week earlier. Maybe housekeeping missed logging those items when they cleaned. Maybe the system applied them late. It happens occasionally. I cleared the charges manually, made a note in the log, moved on. Wednesday night, same thing. Room 427. 2 mini vodkas, 1 chocolate bar. I called the front desk supervisor before I clocked out that morning. I asked her to have housekeeping do a physical check on the minibar in 427. She called me back at 6:40. It's empty, she said. Not partially empty. Completely empty. Every item gone. I asked who had been in the room. Maintenance, engineering, anyone doing a repair or a check. She pulled the door log while we were on the phone. 0 entries since housekeeping cleaned it Thursday afternoon. That was 6 days prior. No guest card, no MasterCard, no maintenance card. The door to 427 had not been opened, but the minibar was stripped. I went up myself that morning before I left. 427 is at the end of the left corridor on the 4th floor, past the ice machine. I used my MasterCard. The door clicked open. The room smelled occupied. Not unclean, not the stale, sealed air smell you get when a room has been closed for a week. It smelled like someone had showered within the last few hours. Faint soap, warm air near the bathroom doorway. The bed was made, but not the way housekeeping makes a bed. Housekeeping tucks the comforter a specific way. Fold down, then smooth, hospital corners at the foot. This bed was pulled up straight and pressed flat. The way a person makes a bed when they're trying to leave things tidy before they leave. The towels in the bathroom were folded on the rack, neatly, but not in the housekeeping fold pattern. The bar soap had been used and placed back on the dish. Centered. Deliberate. I checked the minibar, empty, as reported. Not a crumb, not a wrapper left behind. I stood in the middle of that room for a moment. Then I went back downstairs and pulled the kitchen log. Our in-room dining ran until midnight through a separate kitchen line. You call from the in-room phone. The kitchen logs every order, room number, order time, items ordered, confirmed by the kitchen staff before delivery. I searched room 427, 6 entries, 6 separate nights. The first was Friday night, the night after Carol Fenner checked out. 1 order, club sandwich, fries, house salad. Order time 10:51 p.m. Confirmed by phone before delivery. Saturday night, cheeseburger, onion rings. 10:44 p.m. Sunday, pasta primavera, 11:02 p.m. Monday through Wednesday, same pattern. 1 order per night. Always between 10:44 and 11:10 p.m. Always confirmed via in-room phone. Always delivered. I printed that log. I still have it. 6 nights, 6 dinners, ordered from a vacant room, confirmed by a voice on an in-room phone in a room the door log said had not been opened since Thursday. I tracked down the room service attendant who had worked those shifts. Her name was Renata. She had been covering that floor all week. I remember 427, she said. Every time I knocked, no one answered. I'd wait at the door for a minute. Nothing. So I'd leave the tray in the hall and log it as a door delivery. Happens sometimes when guests don't want to be disturbed. I asked her about the trays. They were always gone by the morning, she said. Whoever was in there must have pulled the tray in after I left. The dishes were always stacked in the cart returned by the elevator by 6 a.m. Covers on, everything neat. I figured the guest was just private. I asked if anything felt strange at the time. She thought about it. The phone calls were a little odd, she said. When I called back to confirm the order before I went up, sometimes there'd be a pause. Several seconds before the voice came on, and the voice was always quiet, low, like someone talking so they wouldn't be heard. She said she figured the guest had a partner sleeping. I showed her the room status for those nights. She looked at it for a long time. That room was vacant, she said. I nodded. But I talked to someone, she said. Every single time I called that extension, someone picked up. Someone confirmed the order, every night. I went home that morning and could not sleep. I came back in Thursday night. The kitchen log now showed 9 entries for room 427. Nights 7, 8, and 9 had been added while I was off. And on night 9, the entry logged 2 nights prior while I was home. The charge had not gone to a guest folio. There was no guest folio to charge. It had been applied to the house account. The house account is where charges go when there is no registered guest and no other billing path. Overrides of that kind require an employee authorization code. The code entered alongside the charge was 3847. I have been employee 3847 at that hotel since my second year. I was not in the building on night 9. I was home, but the system said otherwise. I sat at the front desk for a long time after I found that charge. 3847. My employee code. Applied to a house account override at 11:09 p.m. on a Thursday, the night I was home. In a room I had not entered since that first morning I went up to check the minibar. I ran a search on every house account transaction from the past 2 weeks. I wanted to see if my code had been used in any other place, any other time I could not account for. House account overrides are uncommon, and they don't get flagged for review unless the dollar total crosses a threshold. 9 nights of in-room dining, club sandwiches, pasta, a few drinks, came to roughly $400 combined. Below the flag line, nobody had caught it. I found 2 additional charges applied with code 3847, both to room 427. Both on nights I was not working. I had not entered either of them. I want to tell you about the in-room safe. Every room in that hotel had one. Electronic keypad, fits a laptop and a few folded documents, mounted on the closet shelf at eye level. Standard equipment. What most guests never know, and what most front desk staff forget after their first week, is that the safe has its own log. Every keypad entry is recorded internally and synced to the property server. Time, date, entry type. The type matters. There are 3. Type G is a guest PIN, 4 digits set by the guest at check-in, changes every stay. Type S is the service reset, a 6-digit code used by housekeeping to clear the guest PIN after checkout and return the safe to default. Type O is the master override, 6 digits, different from the service code, changes quarterly, known only to department supervisors, and, during overnight hours when no supervisor is on property, the night auditor on duty. I had never thought much about the safe log before that week. It's not something you pull as part of the standard audit cycle. You'd have to go looking for it specifically. That night, I was looking for everything. I found the safe log access in a submenu called Hardware Diagnostics, not in the main dashboard. Not anywhere a new hire would stumble across it. Most people on my shift didn't know it existed. I pulled the log for room 427, 14 entries total. The first 2 were from Carol Fenner's stay. Type G, she set her own guest PIN on Tuesday night after she checked in. Type S, housekeeping reset the safe on Thursday afternoon after her checkout. Those made sense. The next 11 entries did not. Starting Friday night, the night after Carol Fenner left, the safe had been opened every single night. Type O, master override. The timestamps were precise, 3:17 a.m., 3:17 a.m., 3:17 a.m., 9 consecutive nights. Every single time, 3:17 a.m., not 3:16, not 3:18, 3:17 a.m. to the minute, 9 nights in a row. I need to explain what 3:17 a.m. means in that hotel on the overnight shift. By 3 in the morning, the lobby is empty. The restaurant has been closed for 5 hours. The bar stopped serving at 2. Room service stopped taking orders at midnight. The engineering team's last rounds are complete by 2:30. Security does a sweep at 2, then again at 5. At 3:17 a.m., the only people awake in that building are whoever is at the front desk and whatever guests are still up in their rooms. That's it. The master override code for the in-room safe, Type O, is a 6-digit sequence. At the time, it had been distributed to 4 people. The director of operations, the head of housekeeping, the head of security, and the overnight audit supervisor. That was me. I thought about it carefully before I did anything else. 4 code holders. Maybe one of the others had been in the hotel on some of those nights. Maybe the director of operations had stayed late for a call. Maybe security had needed to access 427 for some reason I wasn't aware of. A guest complaint about a previous occupant, something in the log before my shift. I pulled the access records for all 4 code holders. The director of operations had not been in the building after 6 p.m. on any of the 9 nights. Her key fob log confirmed it. Parking garage exit at 5:58 p.m. on night 1. Back at 8:15 a.m. the next morning. Same pattern every night. The head of housekeeping had clocked out no later than 4 p.m. across all 9 nights. Her team had no reported reason to enter 427 after Carol Fenner's Thursday checkout. No maintenance requests, no complaint tickets, no reason. The head of security had done his standard rounds. His access log showed the 4th floor at 2:03 a.m. on 3 of the 9 nights, not 3:17. He had a documented reason each time, a noise complaint on a neighboring room, nothing to do with 427. That left one code holder, the person on overnight duty. The person on overnight duty on all 9 of those nights. Me. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did next because I want you to understand I was thorough. I was not trying to hide from this. I was trying to understand it. I pulled my own workstation log. Every action I take during a shift is time-stamped. When I pull a report, it logs. When I process a checkout, it logs. When I make a folio adjustment, it logs. I went through each of the 9 nights, looking at the 3:15 to 3:20 a.m. window. Night 1, I was mid-reconciliation. A batch report was running. My station log shows me querying room revenue at 3:15 and receiving the output at 3:19. I was at my desk. Night 2, I was processing a late checkout request that had come in from the 10th floor. Time-stamped activity from 3:12 to 3:22 a.m. At my desk. Nights 3 through 9, the same pattern. Each night, my station log placed me in the middle of an audit task at 3:17 a.m. My desk is on the ground floor. Room 427 is on the 4th floor. From my desk to the elevator, up 4 floors, and down the corridor to 427, that is not a trip you make in under 4 minutes. And I was logged as active on my workstation for continuous stretches that covered 3:17 a.m. each night. But the safe log said the override code was entered at 3:17 a.m. In room 427, on the 4th floor, by the only person on duty who held that code. I thought about the security cameras. I thought, this is straightforward. Pull the footage. My desk is covered by 2 cameras. One facing the front of the desk, one angled from the lobby side. If I was at my desk at 3:17 a.m., I'm on both cameras. That footage settles it. I requested 9 nights of front desk camera footage from the security office. 3:10 a.m. to 3:25 a.m. each night. They pulled it for me. I am on camera, every single night, every single one. Night 1, I'm at my workstation, hands on the keyboard. Night 3, I get up to refill my coffee from the machine behind the desk and walk back. The timestamp shows I sat back down at 3:14 a.m. I am at my desk at 3:17 a.m. Night 7, there's a guest who came down to the lobby with a suitcase, early departure, and I'm standing at the desk speaking with him. The timestamp puts that conversation at 3:15 to 3:24 a.m. I'm on camera speaking with a guest in the lobby at the moment. The safe log says I was on the 4th floor. Clear footage. Time-stamped. Unedited, as far as I or anyone in security could determine. 2 logs. Both time-stamped. Both accurate within their own systems. One says I was at the front desk. One says I was in room 427. I cannot be in 2 places at one time. The hotel systems do not account for that. I went to my manager the following morning before my shift ended. I did not tell her everything. I said I'd found some irregular safe log entries on a vacant room and wanted to know if there were any known issues. Timestamp drift, ghost entries, sync errors between the safe hardware and the property server. She came back with the property tech report from 4 months earlier. The safe system had been audited. No anomalies found. The timestamps were synchronized to the central property server every 15 minutes. If the log said 3:17 a.m., it was 3:17 a.m. I asked if it was possible for the override code to be entered without a physical person standing at the keypad. She gave me the kind of look you give someone who has been awake too long. "It's a keypad," she said. "You press the buttons. There's no remote access." On my off nights, I started coming back anyway. Not clocked in. Just sitting in the lobby in civilian clothes, coffee from the vending machine, watching the elevator bank. At 3:14, I'd position myself where I could see the fourth floor indicator light. 3:15, 3:17. The elevator did not move. No cars went up. No one passed through the lobby. The fourth floor corridor camera, I asked security to let me watch it live on 2 separate nights, showed nothing. Empty hallway, doors closed, no movement. And in the morning, the safe log showed another typo entry. 3:17 a.m., room 427. On night 10, I did not sit in the lobby. I clocked in for my regular shift, told my desk partner I was doing a fourth floor walkthrough, routine check, nothing unusual, and I took the elevator up. I needed to be in that room. At 3:17 a.m., I needed to see what the safe saw. The fourth floor was quiet. I walked the corridor from the elevator to room 427. 12 doors, 6 on each side, most of them dark at the bottom, a couple with the soft blue glow of a television behind the gap. 427 was at the end of the left side. I could see the door from where the elevator let me out. No light underneath, no sound. I stood outside for maybe 30 seconds, listening. Nothing. I pressed my ear against the door. Nothing. I knocked 3 times. The kind of knock that wakes a light sleeper without startling a deep one. No response. I checked the time on my phone. 3:09 a.m. 8 minutes until 3:17. I put my MasterCard against the reader. The light went green. I pushed the door open. The room was dark. I hit the light switch inside the door. The overhead came on. The bed was made. Same as before, the first morning I'd come up. Pulled flat, pressed smooth, no hospital corners. Guest made. The minibar was closed. I'd asked housekeeping to restock it that evening as a test, a way to mark the room's baseline. I crossed to it and opened the fridge door. Empty. Again. Every item gone. I straightened up and looked around the room. Then I looked at the closet. The safe door was open. Not wide open. Slightly ajar. A 2-inch gap. A faint interior light leaked through the crack. I stood there for a moment without moving. The safe was supposed to be closed. Housekeeping resets every safe to locked and closed after checkout. The Type S entry in the log from Carol Fenner's Thursday departure confirmed it. Reset, door closed, confirmed. That was almost 3 weeks ago. I pulled the safe door fully open with 2 fingers. The interior light activated. There was something inside. A notepad. The hotel's branded notepad. The small one, 4 inches by 6, that goes on the desk in every room. Logo at the top. Hotel name in block letters. A dozen lined rows below. It was not blank. Something had been written on the first line, in pen. I pulled the notepad out and held it under the closet light. Carol Fenner. That was all. Just her name. Written once, in the center of the first line. Nothing else on the page. I need to tell you something, and I need you to stay with me. I know my own handwriting. 23 years of incident logs, shift summaries, folio adjustments. I know the slight angle I put on capital letters. I know the way my lowercase e doesn't quite close at the top. The handwriting on that notepad was mine. I knew it immediately. The capital C with its slight forward lean. The F in Fenner closing a half beat early. The loop on the E. It was my handwriting. I was holding a notepad I had never touched, in a room I had not entered since that first morning weeks ago, and my own writing was looking back at me. I set the notepad on the shelf. I needed to look at the rest of the safe. The main compartment, flat laptop-sized, was empty. I reached into the smaller raised compartment at the back. My hand found something flat and rigid. I pulled it out. A conference badge. Plastic sleeve, the kind that snaps onto a lanyard. The lanyard had been cut short or detached. I turned it over. Carol Fenner, Pharmaceutical Sales Association, Regional Conference. The date on the badge was from March. The conference on the 3rd floor, the one that had brought her to this hotel. To room 427. Her checkout record said she departed Thursday morning at 9:12 a.m. with her rolling suitcase and her laptop bag. She had not reported a lost badge. There was no lost and found entry for it. As far as the hotel's records were concerned, Carol Fenner left with everything she came with. But her conference badge was here, in the in-room safe, in a room that had been locked and vacant and unreachable since Thursday afternoon. I was still holding the badge when the safe's keypad made a sound. A quiet double beep, 2 tones, 1 second apart. The sound the safe makes when it logs an entry. I turned to look at the keypad display. The screen on a hotel safe normally shows a blinking standby cursor. This one showed a timestamp, current date, current time. To the second. I watched the seconds change. 3:59. The display held, and the log indicator light flashed once, a single amber pulse. Type O. I had not touched the keypad. I had not entered any code. I was standing 18 inches away from it, holding Carol Fenner's conference badge, when the safe logged a Type O master override entry at 3:17 a.m., with no one pressing the keys, while I stood there watching. I stepped back out of the closet. I stood in the center of the room. I did not move. I was trying to decide what was real. The overhead light hummed. The minibar compressor cycled in its low register. The hallway was quiet through the door. I thought about 9 nights of kitchen tickets. I thought about the voice Renata described, quiet like someone trying not to be heard. I thought about the safe log, 3:17 a.m., 9 times. I thought about my workstation log placing me at the front desk at that exact moment, 9 times in a row. I thought about my own handwriting on a notepad I had never written on. And then the phone rang. The in-room phone. White handset on the nightstand. It rang once. I did not move. It rang again. You cannot call into a vacant room. The phone system assigns an active extension only when a room has a registered guest. Room 427 was vacant. It had no active phone extension. The phone rang a 3rd time. I looked at it. I thought, everything in this room has been communicating through systems that should not be able to. The kitchen extension that does not exist. The safe that logs with no one pressing keys. The house account charge with my employee code on a night I was home. And I thought, the system knows. It has known since the night Carol Fenner checked out. Every night at 3:17, it has been recording something, and it has been leaving the record where I would eventually find it. The phone rang a 4th time. I picked it up. Silence on the other end. Not dead silence. The soft, filtered quiet of an open line. The kind where someone is present, but not speaking. I said, hello? Nothing. I said, this is the front desk. Nothing. And then, from somewhere deep in that line, I heard a sound. Not a voice, not a word, a tone, a single double beep, lasting maybe 2 seconds. The exact sound the safe makes when it logs an entry. The line went dead. I set the handset back in the cradle. I took one more look at the room. The notepad still on the closet shelf. The conference badge in my hand. The safe door still open. The keypad display still showing 3:17 hound. Not advancing, frozen at the exact moment it had logged the override. I left the room. I did not call the front desk to tell my partner what I'd found. I rode the elevator down. I sat at my desk for the rest of the shift without speaking. At 7 a.m. I clocked out. I submitted my resignation by email that evening. Personal reasons. I did not explain further. I kept the kitchen log printout. I kept the photograph I took of that notepad with my phone before I left the room. Carol Fenner, my handwriting. I have looked for Carol Fenner online since then. She is real. She is still working in pharmaceutical sales. As far as I can determine, she attended that conference in March, stayed 2 nights, drove home without incident, and has no awareness of what her name was doing written in my handwriting inside an in-room safe that had been opened 9 times after she left. I called the hotel once, about 2 months after I resigned. I did not identify myself. I said I was a former guest with a question about a billing charge on room 427. The new night auditor picked up. He paused when I mentioned the room number. A long pause. "Room 427?" he said. "Yes," I said. "That room is out of service," he said. I asked why. I'm not supposed to say. Then he said something I didn't expect. "But if you stayed in that room," he said, "you might want to check your account. We've been getting room service orders coming in from it, from the in-room phone, and we can't figure out how to make it stop." The system knew before I did. It knew the night Carol Fenner checked out. It started keeping a record of something I still do not have words for. It used my employee code, it used my handwriting, it knew what time I came in, and it is still ordering dinner. I don't know how I know that last part, but I do. I think about the safe every time I'm somewhere at 3:17 a.m. I think about the double beep on that phone line. I think about the display frozen at 3:17, not advancing, as if the safe was not measuring time passing, as if it was marking the moment something arrived. And I think room 427 is still logged as occupied somewhere in a system I can no longer access. Whatever is in there has my employee code, it has my handwriting, it knows my shift schedule, and somewhere right now, in a hotel I will never walk into again, a kitchen ticket is printing. Room 427. Tonight's order, confirmed via